Alright, so we're going to change the oil. So all Hondas use the same Honda oil filter. Honda number 15400-PLM-A02. All the Hondas use that. One thing you want to do on your new oil filter is just take your finger. This is the oil for this model 5W-20. So we'll just just take your finger and just get a little bit of the new oil on your finger, and take your new oil filter and just put a little oil on this seal ring right here. This helps the seal and helps keep it from sticking when you go to change it. So when you take your old oil filter off, you always want to make sure that that rubber ring is still there. Otherwise it could still be attached, and you're going to want to remove that, or you'll end up with a major oil leak problem. Alright, so we're going to use this oil filter wrench to get the other one off. You just slide it over and then you use it at adjust. So we're going to take that oil filter off, and then when we get to our drain bolt, it's a 17mm socket for our drain bolt. So let's get started. So getting under the car in the front is pretty easy to find. The oil filter especially, I'm very pleased. Looks like it'll come out without dripping all over everything, unlike a lot of the ones that I do, including my newer CRV and Pilot. Both of them, the oil filter is kind of a pain where it's at because it drips on everything. So we're going to get the oil filter off first. Let me just show you underneath here where that's at. So kind of turning around here, you'll see this pan under, and it may not pick up on this video, but actually, yeah, there it is. It says engine oil. And then right back here, you have your drain bolt right here, filter right there. So very easy to find. This is your oil filter, this is your drain bolt. So we're gonna change our filter. We're gonna take this filter off. I'm gonna clean the area where it attaches, make sure our rubber ring is on there. I'm gonna put our new filter on. Then we're gonna take our drain bolt out and let our oil start to drain. So this gonna fit on like that, and then see how easy it starts to move. So then that's enough, because that oil is going to start to spill. So then I want to get my drain pan underneath where that's going to drip. I just take my hand and start loosening, and it's going to make a mess. I like the Subarus put them on top, where you just open the hood and they're upright and you just unscrew them, your hand stays clean. These, not so much. So be very careful if your engine oil is still really hot when you get to this part, so you don't get burnt. And the key to these, you never know when they're about to separate. So, and then it's covered in oil, so hard to get a good grip. Alright, so we got our oil filter off of here. We got it sitting in the pan where the oil dripped out. We just take a rag and we just kind of clean all the surfaces where our new one's going to go. So I clean the threads and I clean the face of the metal, so I can really see that everything's in good shape. Alright, so our our rubber ring stayed with our filter, so that's good. Everything there is clean as can be. You can just take that rag and wipe that glove off a little bit, because I don't want it to slip when I put the new filter on. Alright, I just you can just hand me that new filter. It's alright. Why don't you hand me that new filter? Alright, so our new filter is ready to go. So we'll just put it on. You really don't need the wrench to put this on, so it's kind of contacted the base now. So now I just kind of hand tighten, and then when I take this glove off, since I got this oil on it, I'll hand tighten it again with a clean hand. But that's probably all it needs, actually. So you just want to hand tighten that. Alright, so so we're going to loosen this, and then that'll drain our oil into our pan. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to have to get rid of my phone so I don't ruin it. Alright, so we got our drain plug out, our engine oil gushing out. This is my drain bolt, and you'll see it's got a crush washer on it. So if you're going to keep using this bolt, you're going to want to change that crush washer. So you see my hand oily. Of course I got the gloves on, but taking that drain bolt off is always going to be a little messy. And so you're going to see an optional solution you have for that. So normally what you do after that oil dripped out, we've already changed our filter, is you change this washer. You always want to make sure that washer came off and didn't stick to your oil pan, or you'll have an oil leak. And so you'd want to change this crush washer, and then you would tighten that up to, I believe it's 29 foot-pounds of torque on the oil drain. Yeah, so these are crush washers, so sometimes you have to kind of unthread them like this. They sometimes won't just pop off. And so anyway, that gives you a good seal. But I'm going to save this, and I'm going to change my gloves and show you a product that I like to use since I changed my own oil. Okay, so this is a product I'm putting on. This is our first time changing this oil. So this is called a Fumoto valve. This is model F106SX. This would fit basically any Honda product. Some are going to need a spacer depending on the design, but this does not. And so our bolt, underneath there are bolts on the back side. So we undid the drain bolt, the oil goes shooting that way. So what we're going to do with this valve, this is a special design valve, where this is going to take the place of our drain bolt, but you see it has a hole in it. It's going to allow the oil to drain through that hole where it's threaded in, and then it's going to allow it to go wherever we want it. So I'm going to put this in like this, with this O-ring up against the oil pan, with this bolt replacing my drain bolt, just like that. It's got another lifetime seal right there. And what this allows us to do is drain the oil straight down with no tools. It's got this lock on here for safety if you're worried about that, but there's really no way, if you look at this valve, that a spring valve like this, a spring-loaded valve, it's not going to ever accidentally get depressed and rotated 90 degrees. And what that allows the oil to do is go through the drain bolt and out the bottom into a drain pan, which means for future oil changes after we put this in, and we're going to tighten this up to 29 foot-pounds of torque just like the regular drain bolt. It means that in the future, after we put this in, oil changes are going to be reaching under the car, putting your drain pan directly below this, your catch pan, and pushing in and rotating 90 degrees, drain your oil. When it's done draining, you push in, rotate 90 degrees, and it stops, and you're done. And it's clean, and I've been using these for years, never had one fail. Got one on a Pilot CRV, had it on a Subaru WRX, had it on a Honda Odyssey. Don't think I used it before that. So I think that's everything that I've used it on. But I've been using them for many years. So we're going to put that on in place of our drain bolt. This is last the life of the vehicle. And if you ever saw it move, you could always just make sure that this was torqued down to 29 foot-pounds. If you ever wanted to check it, you just put a wrench on there and tighten it if you were, but I've never had one loosen. So we're gonna do that now. Okay, so we're dripping just a little, so I'm gonna take this rag, really clean off the surface really well, because this is the last time it'll be exposed, so I'll make sure there's nothing there. Looks clean. We're going to start putting this bolt in there. Alright. Okay. Okay. The neat thing about this model that ends in SX is that it allows you to rotate where the oil drains to accommodate different designs in oil pans, because some of them, you know, go in at different spots, and depending on the design of the vehicle, you may want to rotate it a different way to control where your oil drains. But it's really nice having all that pressure when you first start to change your oil. So much cleaner to have it go straight down into a pan than shoot out to the side, and you don't know how far it's going to go, and you can miss your oil pan, and it can create a mess. And then as the oil pressure gets off, then you might have your pan move too far out of the way, and it may, you know, leak right under the spot. So this way you don't have to move your oil pan. There's a lot of advantages to these. Alright, so I'm gonna torque this down to the 29 foot-pounds. Oops, I don't have my challenge I'm finding as I rotate it, the whole thing's wanting to rotate as I tighten it, so I'm trying to figure out how I can kind of keep this over that way while I do that. Okay, so this is what the Fumoto valve looks like when we're done. So we got our oil filter, we have our drain pan, we have our bolt that goes in like our other drain bolt. So this right here is what we torque down to 29 foot-pounds. What you'll find that since this rotates, so you can aim where you want your oil to drain, it'll swivel right here. So while you're tightening it, it may want to come this way. So what I did was I grabbed a crescent wrench, and the shape is square right there. So I just have a crescent wrench on there, and I'm pushing to the right while I'm torquing that down in order to keep it straight. So now that I got it torqued down to 29 foot-pounds, we're good to go. The only thing when you use this, you just got to make sure that once you're done draining the oil, that you close that valve. So the valve should be in the closed position right now, and then next time I want to do an oil change, I would push in and go let's see, yeah, push this way and open like that, and then close it by going like that. So it's that simple. That's the Fumoto valve. Now we'll just add oil at the top, and that'll complete our oil change. We'll of course check the oil level after we've ran the engine for a while. Alright, so now we're going to add our oil. It says 4.4. I'm going to add like 4.2, run it for a while, and then get my level right. So the oil goes in right here. It's at 5W20. Definitely recommend full synthetic. This is a 5-quart mobile one, and it's extended performance, high mileage. It says it protects for 20,000 miles, and for engines that have 75,000 miles or more on them, we'll probably change the oil every 5,000 miles. I definitely wouldn't go over 7,500 miles. Oh yeah, I was going to do a point. Okay, we're just going to go to there. Alright, come on over here. Alright, so this will be like 4.25 quarts, and it says 4.4, so we'll go ahead and do that. We'll run the engine for a while and check it. So on your dipstick right here, you're just going to want to wipe it off first, because it's not going to give you a good reading. And then you have these two dots. So this is the lowest, and this is the highest. So you want it to be in this range. So if you don't see oil, you need to add it, but you don't want to add it more than the top one. So once we start the car and run the car, then we'll kind of, add. And that's why you want to put in a little less than it calls for, because you don't want to take any out. You want to just add it. Once you do an oil change on your vehicle, you can get to where you know exactly what comes out, and then you don't have to take as much time adding it in slowly. But since this is our first oil change, I'm going to go with 4.25 actually I got, and then we'll kind of see what it does. So that's our oil change.